Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to RLCS Overtime, your one-stop shop for all things Rocket League esports, RLCS, casters, beards. There's so many things we do on this show. It's fantastic. I got a finable carpet, a Lawler, and a Quinn Lobdell with me. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good?
Good.
Good. We've got 4 goods, folks. You're going to the next episode. Wait, wrong show. Sorry. Okay, so talking here about Rocket League, we've had so much crazy stuff happen. League play has ended. We've had the playoffs happen. We'll talk about North America here. Look at our bracket and how things went down this past weekend. You can see that the teams that win coming out in the end there, Cloud9 4-1 over Ghosts. And the most important part of this is those semifinals there, the Cloud9, NRG, Ghost, and G2 Esports, the 4 teams representing North America at LAN.
I think we all got a little caught off guard. Ghosts being able to take down pretty much everyone in their path aside from the very end, Cloud9. I think we all knew they were good, but they definitely really showcased what they could pull off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, it was in convincing fashion as well. Like, we have a defined 4 that were all, I guess, supposed to be there, even though you don't want to say that anybody like belongs there for like a defined thing, but they proved their worth by far in those games. Yeah,
it was sad because Gibbs was like just right all weekend about basically everything. Got like all the predictions right. He was predicting Cloud9 to win, and they certainly did. I have my money on NRG because they've done it 3 times in the past, and I wanted to see them do it again, and maybe I'm a bit of a fanboy, who knows. But they come out, they get the 4-0 over Rogue, and then only are able to take 2 games against Cloud9. Cloud9 comes out getting the victory the whole way. That
part I think no one was really terribly surprised by. I mean, I definitely think going into this one was probably one of the more obvious. Like, there are 3 people that could have taken it. Sadly, it was one of not G2's best performances we've seen, which is kind of the theme. I heard like I was reading some conversations where like, when are we going to stop talking about which G2's going to show up? And then like G2 didn't show up. It's like, I don't know. Whenever they start showing up, we're going to stop talking about it. And I mean, it's just as frustrating for us as it is. Like we want to believe, we want to understand that these teams are consistent, and so often it's really just up to the day. Yeah. So talking about the qualified teams here. We've got 4 from North America, and the 2 that had to play today, we already knew that Cloud9 and G2 were making it in, but NRG was the other team, the first team that qualified, and then we had Ghost come in there in the lower as well. So NRG and Ghost, how do you guys feel about these being our 4 teams for LAN?
I think that's pretty clear cut. These teams are all just a level above the rest of the teams that we've been seeing in league play, especially you see both Rogue and FlyQuest lost 4-0 in their series, so I think it makes sense that we have these 4 teams as our final 4.
How do you guys feel about Ghost in particular, seeing as I think everyone was expecting, most people were expecting them to beat FlyQuest, but then to see them go all the way to the finals to play against Cloud9, talk to me about Ghosts.
I mean, for me, I look at that roster and I'm still surprised by it. Like, I don't see how those pieces fit together, but a lot of it just has to do with the leadership from Vladimir. He is the true captain of that team. He leads them, and we saw what happens when he's not there. In the one series they drop pretty heavily, but then other teammates are stepping up. I mean, you saw Classics in the time that he was having those internet issues when all of Toronto was out, basically get them to that last game just in time for him to come back, and then he also carries it through, but he showed his worth in only that one game and led everybody's fantasy for that week too, because he had one game to play off of. But like, it makes no sense because I don't see all those players as like, okay, these are your really heavy carry players, but they still win games every single time. It's an interesting dynamic that happens with them.
Go ahead, Quinn.
I was going to say, with Classics, he's so difficult to predict just because he's so aggressive that if he's having like an off day.
And Carp calls him like a bruiser.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, he just goes completely missing, but like that's not what happened, as you said. But we saw a great Classics, and hopefully he brings that to the LAN.
It was funny to me because it was like league play was over, fantasy was over for North American EU, and it felt like these guys were still trying to pad their stats with just like how aggressive they were playing. It was a really fantastic series of events. If you didn't get to watch this weekend, please go back and watch it. It was really cool here. But talking about moving forward, Cloud9, the victors, the first time since we've switched to this format that we have not seen NRG / former Kings of Urban be the North American champs, and we have Cloud9 now as the champ. So talking about who's hot moving forward into LAN. Can we just all say this at the same time on 3? You guys ready? 1, 2, 3. NRG. Oh wait, I thought we didn't agree. I thought we were going to all agree on that.
Bamboozled us.
How dare you? Okay. So here's my thing. We're going to talk about Cloud9 a whole bunch. I just want to say, while NRG they dropped they only won 2 games against Cloud9. The 2 games that they won, they outscored them 9-1. They only allowed 1 goal in those 2 games. So they had some really fantastic games, kept them close, and then went and just destroyed G2 in the 3rd place match. So while absolutely Cloud9 is definitely the favorite right now, I think if there's any other team you can look at in North America, NRG is feeling pretty good.
I think that's pretty fair. Just in general, their record together, how they've been performing, just their longevity as a team. Fireburner and Jacob have been playing together for so long, and they've got such a rapport, and the things that they've accomplished together is pretty amazing. And as much as I really enjoy just seeing how NRG has performed, I think they're showing more inconsistency than they have in the past, which is what makes me uncomfortable and makes it hard for me to say, yes, NRG are the team to go for. Because we just finally saw them perform the best they ever had at LAN, and then they had probably one of the rockiest seasons we've seen them have. Usually they're
That's
just
true.
like, they're just like, they're the target, right? It's just like, we got to beat NRG, we have to do it. And this season, they were still up there. Obviously, they still performed, and they put themselves in 3rd place. But, seeing that rockiness out of them, it's just a little weird for me.
For sure.
That's been the story for like the entire season, though, is teams just aren't performing at their best. I mean, you look at Cloud9, we expect Squishy, we expect Gimmick, we expect all these players to play extremely well, but they've also been shaky. And despite that, someone on their team still steps up and makes a convincing win for them. Where, okay, Squishy, he's been playing out of his mind for so long, he's making a ton of plays happen here and there, and then you see Gimmick kind of slide back a little bit because he's able to make some of these high mechanic plays. But then they transition that as well. There's another player that where not everybody is playing at their peak performance, but they have enough on their team talent-wise where they're able to step up and still get those wins, despite that shakiness that we're seeing throughout.
Yeah, let's talk about Cloud9 in particular here and what they are bringing to the table moving into the World Championships here. They only dropped 3 games this weekend, not even enough to lose a series at any point. Across all of their series, they only dropped 3 games. They lost 2 to NRG and 1 to Ghost in the finals, taking that final in 5 games flat. These guys quite on fire, and it was Squishy, who we highlighted as the player of the day. He had quite a breakout performance.
I mean, there really is, as far as mechanical skill right now, not only is he able to showcase it, but it almost feels like his team is playing, like making that part of their play style. Is understanding what Squishy can do. It's like, hey, it's in a weird spot. I'm pretty sure Squishy's gonna be able to carry this over 2 people, and they start to prepare for that, which I think generally, what we'd seen in the past are the people that were super affluent as far as mechanical skills. They would just like do the solo plays and do something nasty, and like their players would not. You don't really want to play around that. But Cloud9 seems to be one of the first teams that like just feeding into it. Like, we know how good Squishy is, so let's just play around his skill. It's really cool to watch.
And it's just, when you think about, that's what we're talking about, just Squishy, and we haven't even started talking about Gimmick yet. And then when you've got those 2 players, who's rounding out the roster? You got Torment here. Like, the 3 players, we talked about it all of you on Saturday, that like every one of these players can make the dynamite plays if they need to, but they also synergize so well as a team. This team is absolutely dynamite moving into the World Championships right now.
Yeah, I think one of the scariest things about this team is, like Carpet, you said it so well. We look at Cloud9, they do such a good job at just kind of putting the ball in awkward situations for the other team and just saying, hey, let's, Torment specifically lets Squishy and Gimmick just have the freedom to do whatever they want on the offensive side of the field. And they put that ball in awkward positions and say, hey, let's see what you can make happen here, what can be difficult for the other teams to deal with. And we see what happens as a result. The consistency in the mechanics time and time again leads them on top.
Yeah, and talking about Cloud9, #1 seed from North America, looking at the World Championship bracket. I'm going to take a preview. The first time we're actually going to show it to you here. This is what the bracket is going to look like for Worlds in Washington, D.C. Holy cow, it's huge. Let's look at it in there. There we go. Look at this. Just the part of here that is actually filled out right now. You can see Cloud9 right now waiting for the victory between the #2 seed from OCE and PSG Esports. I want to talk about a stacked bracket, guys. Like, I feel like every year at LAN, we can look at this bracket and we say like, oh, this is a match like the first round. It'll probably easily go one way or the other. But you look at all these teams: Method versus NRG, Ghosts versus Mocket Esports. Those are the 2 we have already made here. All of these matches, all of these teams are so good. Like, what stands out to you guys right now?
I mean, the fact for me is that 3rd, 4th place match that we got to see previous weekend allows whoever won that to get that extra bye. They don't have that, I guess, warm-up match or that match that's like, okay, this is it. Like, here we go. And that's huge. I mean, the ability to, for some, they think of that, and it's bad because OC is not respected, I think, by a lot of these pros just yet. Like, there's a lot of teams that are just like, this is going to be an easy cakewalk. But I've been watching their scene, and they are, like, ever since Alpha City came back and now they're Chief, like, their play has amped up quite a bit. Like, it's not going to be a cakewalk like everybody expects.
Well, no.
I was going to say, I mean, everybody kind of called them out, and we saw what happened. They were able to win a series, right? They did do well. And all the other players lauded them. They gave them so much credit, saying this is a good team. They know how to play good Rocket League.
A big thing talking to Yummy, especially during that last LAN, that was just a huge improvement for them because they just got to learn. They were playing against all these high caliber teams, and they brought all that back to Australia. All that experience they had, all the things that they saw that were weakness, they had replays to watch. They got to see where they were beat, and now they just spent all season working kind of in their isolated area over in OCE. We haven't been able to play against them. There's such a big ping difference we don't get to. So I mean, and they're going against G2, who we've all been waiting to see like for 2 seasons. So I think the opening match is going to be amazing.
It's going to be crazy. We've got like a whole month before the LAN happens, and we will go fully into those matches and talk more about them as we move forward here on Overtime. But right now, done talking about North America. We're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to hop the pond, do it all again over in Europe, talk about their regional championships. See you there in a second. Welcome back to RLCS Overtime. Got done talking about North America. Now we're going to talk about Europe. It was kind of a crazy weekend, very long weekend.
Yep.
You know, have you figured out what grits are yet?
No.
No, he still doesn't know it.
No, I just know the sausage that with it.
He knows there's sausage with it. Shrimps and grits. We discovered today that Shrimp has no idea what grits are.
Like I said, it just sounds like shrimp, but you haven't cleaned it properly and it's got sand.
Honestly, that's not a bad.
Close enough. Yeah.
It's pretty close there. Let's look at the bracket and how things shaped up for the European regional playoffs here, guys. It was a crazy one. Had a lot of, the things went sort of as expected, but then not Gale Force, who had a pretty rough start to league play, really showing up in a big way here at the end and going all the way your European regional champions.
And I could not be happier for it. Gale Force started off the season, we sat there all just saying, look, Gale Force is the best team in the world right now. And then they got beat by both PSG and Method. And then there was going to be questions coming up, as there is always questions coming up. But they avenged both of those losses. They became the world or the European champions. That'll be in the future coming up. But as well, we have got ourselves Gale Force and Mocket representing Europe. They are joining Method and PSG.
I hear that. Is that a prediction? A prediction from you at this point?
I told you all. I don't make predictions. I give you spoilers.
Oh, that's a clever.
Is that?
Clever way
Do you want to tell us that other spoiler that you feel so strongly about?
Do you want to remind me?
About 4 teams and them winning. Do you want to make that call right now?
Yeah, I'll call it right now. Europe is going to go 4-0 against OC or NA in the opening round.
Wow, that's cool. I wanted you to confirm that later because we're going to we'll pull up the World Championship bracket, but we'll save that for now. Right now, I just want to talk about the 4 teams from Europe who did make it here. We're talking about Method, PSG, Mocket, and Gale Force. Now, Method and PSG we knew about last week, but this week, Gale Force and Mocket going to be pulling out the wins there in that first round to qualify in. They'll be our 4 teams representing us here at LAN.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely incredible. The land's just stacked on top of stacked on top of stacked, but we have got our big teams coming around. And those qualification games, those were tough. There was definitely a landmine team there in the form of Flipside, and Excel we knew could come out from absolutely anywhere. Niels Cook, he was getting fed shots, but just not quite enough of them. So teams are definitely playing their styles. It seems like everyone's started to settle into their groove, and Mock it as well. They are, as you guys said, they are starting to wind it up a little bit now when it's actually really crucial to them.
It was funny because we interviewed Niels Cook and they had their match against Mocket. Excel had the match against Mocket in the very end of league play, and they barely won it out. And he was like, Pashy was just having a breakout performance. That's why Mocket was able to beat us. He won't possibly do it again, but he just kept going. Like, Pashy is playing better right now than I feel like he's ever played before. Mocket makes it to LAN again.
I mean, it's the situation of what Mocket does. They have a new roster. They somehow get second at every World Championship. So why is this season any different?
Yeah, I don't know how they always seem to pull things together right when it comes towards LAN, and they always have an incredible LAN run. So things are going just as you'd expect.
I guess.
Yeah, it's a little weird, the whole situation with Mocket.
I'm pretty sure, I'm just thinking through it in my head here real fast, Mocket maybe is the only organization to be at every single LAN.
Well,
the only
now
one.
with the loss of Flipside.
Yeah,
Yep,
but it
correct.
was Flipside up until this year. So Mocket now the only team to be there every single time. Different rosters all the time, but still, the organization always able to get there. And we want to talk about who's hot moving into the LAN right now. Obviously, Gale Force is a big one here, but we're just going to go down the line. This was a little bit less straightforward than NA, though apparently NA wasn't actually straight. I thought
You ruined it.
All NRG train here. Yeah, okay, Shogun, who you got?
Gale Force, obviously European champions, avenging their 2 losses, looking good doing it. It's impossible for me to go against them.
I've got Mocket.
For me, it's actually Method.
Wait, Method? What? I have Gale Force, but I mean, they knocked out Flipside, the team that's always made it to LAN every time. It's like, how could you not say that they're hot right now?
I think right now
We'll get
Gale
there.
Force is maybe the easy answer. Obviously, they're
That's
the
why I didn't
European
go with
champs, and I want to talk about Mocket here for a second. These guys, they didn't lose by more than 1 point to Method, and they reverse swept PSG. The performance from these guys was crazy. Like, it was the only series we saw all weekend that made the full use of the best of 7 format and actually had it matter here, where you saw PSG get out to the first. They won the first 3 games, and then Mocket comes all the way back. Too many M teams here in the league. It was incredible to watch these guys play, though.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, for me, okay, you look at this match, right? Guess who was playing against them in that final match of the day? It was Method. Method is also the team that knocked down Mocket. So, yes, Gale Force is the one that we all predetermined is like, okay, these guys are the best in the world right now, and they're showing us that towards the end of the season. But Method is a team that, for a lot of people that forgot, they were the 3rd seed last season as Team Secrecy and didn't have the best season. Now they're starting to really settle in, as Shogun said, they're getting in their groove, they're still playing, and they're still competing and bringing this top tier team of Gale Force all the way to 7 games. So there's still one that you can't count out. Not that you can count on anybody in Europe because everybody's so stinking good.
Yeah,
so
no,
it's like-
Gale Force, I mean, we were watching K-Dot play there while we were talking. The guy, we gave him Player of the Week. They had an absolutely monster performance. This guy was in the World Finals last year. He was the MVP of Europe last year, and here he was the Player of the Week for the regional championships. K-Dot has been on fire for 2 seasons straight now.
Yeah, K-Dop's now going to start having that problem of we just expect these performances out of him because he is a consistent. And on a Gale Force team that is always as consistent as they are, it's kind of hard to stand out. But this weekend, he certainly did. A main component on Gale Force and their victories. And if you can keep this going heading into the LAN, they're going to be very solid. They're getting more experience as well under their belts, so consistency will be there.
That save. Oh,
Yeah.
God, that save. That save was a goal to make it 1-2, but instead they transitioned it downfield, make it 3-0. Like, just barely any difference.
Some beautiful play. I mean, we'll get to. We're going to interview Turbo Pulsa after this, so we'll get to hear a bit from Gale Force on their perspective on what's going on and how
That's on
they're
him.
feeling
Is
right
he wearing
now.
shorts? Do we have bets? Is it gonna?
I don't know.
Shorts?
I don't know. You know,
I bet you wear shorts in the comfort of his own home.
I just
It's like
don't-
naked, actually.
Oh,
That's a bad image. Ugh.
We'll see if he's wearing anything cool, but I'm not going to ask him about like what pants he's got on. That's just it's just a little weird. He'd have to like stand up and like I don't know.
little
you know?
weird.
It's just a little bit on the strange side, but I can't get over Mokket. We called it because we had a little bit of misinformation. We were saying it was the first time we'd ever had a reverse sweep in a best of 7. Wasn't actually true. This was the second time. The first time it happened way back in season 1, and it was actually Mokket who got reverse swept at the time. So here they come back, get some revenge.
Quit.
And
Do you know
oh
about,
my gosh.
do you know
Yeah,
about
I
reverse
know-
sweeps against Mokket?
I might know something about that. I think I can remember.
Well, that was
you
the
know?
best of 5. That was,
Oh yeah,
that's
but I mean,
a
it was
different game.
Close enough.
Yes, that was the second time that Quinn did have the second reverse sweep against Mokket in that season.
Yeah, but this game and multiple games that we saw from Mokket this weekend kind of show off the my love-hate relationship with them right now. They've got 2 styles of play. When they're in defense, I hate to say it, they are boring to watch, and I don't think they entirely know what they are doing. They invite too much offense to come towards them. That isn't going to make the mistakes they need. But when they transition that over to offense and they allow themselves to control the midfield and pressure their opponents, Fairy Peak is a master at setups. They need to be moving there over more into offense more if they want to have a chance at the World Championships.
Well, they've got a month to prepare here to really think through everything, and we've heard, Pashy was tweeting out that like this is the best he's ever felt with a team. The synergy between these guys, between Fairy Peak, Freaky, and Pashy, this team is really fit well together. I mean, Pashy's always been a player that builds good teams around him, and he feels best about this team, about any team, and he's been to the World Finals before. He's been in that championship game, losing to Flipside in season 2. So like, he wants to finally pull it out and get the win this time.
I mean, a confident Pashy is a scary one. No one can argue that.
I think the big question here again for Mokket is can they all pull it together at LAN and bring that performance? I mean, even last year they got to the grand finals, right? It wasn't Pashy, but it was a Mokket team, and you just notice that specifically with Mokket consistently, the team never really starts to come together from the day one, from their first series.
Sure.
They always kind of start off slowly and
back end of the
then
season.
just at the end, just kind of come through and make a performance.
And we'll see if they can make it to that grand final match again for a 3rd season in a row. They've been there twice, but they've been bracket reset twice too. So you know that Mokket organization is hungry for that victory right now. Let's talk about OCE for a little bit, though. We've given out some awards, some player accolades for North America and for Europe. Their season just ended, so we can give out the awards that we have there for OCE right now. The Golden Striker, Torsos, a player we saw at LAN. They were performing in season 3. I'm sure we'll see them there again. I just can't imagine that they won't make it through in their playoffs here. But Torsos going to be our Golden Striker there from OCE, and the Savior of the Season, another award, Walcott there from Conspiracy, 2.26 saves per game, putting up monster numbers there. Noisy and Hectic rounded out the top 3. And the MVP for the OCE region, saw his name already once, 5-2 his team went, Torsos from Chiefs ESC, still one of the dynamite rosters here in
I'm actually
OCE.
really excited to see Shady in that top 3. He was the player that replaced Bango, I'm pretty sure, so he's like the newcomer to the team, and for him to show up as like a possible MVP pick, that's huge.
Yeah, no, they still have their playoffs to go through, so we'll get to see kind of who their top 2 teams are in a bit, but they will fill out the remainder of our World Championship bracket. We can take a look at it. We saw it earlier when we were talking about North America. Let's see it again. I want to get Shogun's thoughts in particular here. You were proclaiming that E will not lose a round in the matches we have outlined here right now. You feel confident about that?
I mean, I'll say it confidently out right now. As I get closer and closer, it'll definitely be interesting to see how nervous I do get, because there are certainly games there that do make me nervous. PSG, we've seen the steam starting to go out from their train right now, and they've got Cloud9 to take on. I feel like that one is going to be very difficult for them. The other one actually is going to be Method versus NRG. That's going to be a very interesting styles clash that we've got there, because we've got a team that loves to be absolutely everywhere, and we saw a lot plant himself in the midfield against a team that really has sort of just held to the 2-1 rotational style for the longest time. So it's going to be utter chaos against a little bit more of a organized team, apart from Jacob, who just does whatever, really.
Sure. I mean, it's always difficult to strategize when you're going up against a team that has wild card players like Jacob on it here. But everything's looking good. Everything is shaping up fantastically for the World Championship. It's about a month away. Be sure to be checking out and getting your tickets to be there. And we want to see you at Washington, D.C. at the National Harbor MGM. It's going to be awesome stuff. Can't wait for that to happen. But guys, teased about it earlier. Let's talk about it. We're going to have it happen here after the break. Going to interview Turbo Pulse to get his thoughts on the regional championships and on the world championships. Stick around. It's going to be right here on Overtime.